This is Freeburgh Hill, also known as Freya's Hill. It sits on the outskirts of Moorsholme in North Yorkshire and was the beginning of my journey. After catching the X93 bus, I headed off and looked at the surrounding landscapes. These places are full of burial mounds, standing stones and other ancient monuments. After a short stop in Scarborough, I then boarded the coastliner bus and continued my journey onwards to Danes Dyke. I first met up with Paul Sinclair, author and host of the channel Truth Proof on YouTube. We then proceeded to have a look around the Danes Dyke area. Danes Dyke itself is now a scheduled ancient monument. It's also a nature reserve and it's full of deer and other wildlife. Lots of interesting birds, plants and flowers to look at if you're into that sort of thing. I'm here at Danes Dyke looking into the phenomena that have occurred here, which some people call high strangeness. There have been reports of everything from dogmen to big cats and UFOs in the area, so I'm quite hyped and hoping to have an experience of some kind. After our walk around the woodlands, Paul showed me quite a few things which I haven't put on camera. We'll leave them for a later date. But what I will say is, there's definitely something going on in Danes Dyke. When we finished looking around, and Paul had recounted quite a few tales of dogmen and sightings that other folk had had, I began to feel slightly apprehensive. But I was definitely staying the night, no matter what. Once we'd finished our look around, we went to a place that Paul knew well, and we sat down and had a little chat.
Well, everybody, Michael's filming, but it's me that's opened it up, isn't it? I'm sat in Danes Dyke, which is nothing unusual for me, but Michael's been a few times in past on his own, but I don't think he's been to this particular location. I think you're going to be camping here, aren't you?
Yeah, I am tonight.
So he's doing an overnighter. But hey, there's no wrong with that, is there? Let's face it. But where he's camping, for anybody that knows me, will know I've talked about the guy who used to live in Danes Dyke for 13 years. And we're in the zone, we're in the area, and it's pretty... Danes Dyke is only a little woodland, isn't it? Let's face it.
Yeah.
But it's pretty tucked away, isn't it?
It is. It's got some beautiful features. Lots of bluebells and wild garlic all around. Carpeting the floor at the minute. Off the camera, of course.
It looks nice though, doesn't it?
It does.
So what do you get from this spot, Michael? What do you feel?
This spot's quite nice, you know, comparatively. Spot we just went to wasn't as nice.
You felt a bit dark and ominous, didn't it? But,
Yeah.
And it weren't that far away.
No, it's not far away at all.
But as I say, we'll see what the night brings. There'll be people watching this and saying, "Why didn't you spend night there, Paul? Why didn't you stay at night?" But I think it's pretty unplanned that you've arrived, isn't it?
It is. It's completely unplanned. I just sprung it on Paul to sort of. I'm just going to pop your way today, Paul. I think very late last night.
Yeah.
And Paul replied, and yeah, I got here.
I shouldn't be asking you because you're filming, but tell us about that YouTube channel that you've started.
It's just evidence pending, and the evidence pending is just basically my experiences and growing up and seeing varying things that happened in sort of the paranormal and the unexplained. It's basically that's the main meat of the bone, and the other bits are going to be bits of folklore and stuff, and maybe visits to standing stone circles and standing stones.
So you're going to put a little bit of ancient history in with your website, which is going to deal with strange and unusual things as well, isn't it?
Yeah, to me they're all connected. So you know, a lot of the larger experiences I've had have happened within sort of this relative close distances of standing stones or cairns and mounds, or along what people term as ley lines or energy points on the earth.
What do you think significance is then of strange occurrences at standing stones? Do you think them stones are there because of the strangeness of the land?
Can't say with certainty, but my personal conclusion is that they buried their dead on points that were thinner, where the veil between this life and this reality are thinner.
Yeah, and I think there's some truth in that. But I guess what I'm meaning, I'll just push it a bit further, and you probably answered it there. But do you think the people that buried their dead knew that land were a significant area to place intern their dead?
I'd say that the people in the ancient past was much more in tune with the land, so they'd have watched the movements of animals, and they would have noted things and strange goings on a lot more than we do in present day. We've got so much going on around us all the time. You know, our lives are sort of artificial. We live in these boxes that we've made. You know, in great big societies with a myriad of distractions. So when we're sort of sitting there looking at all this stuff, we're not really attuned to what's going on, whereas they're out there or in a woodland or on an open plain.
They're absolutely dialed into it, aren't they?
Yeah.
I get it. And so just staying with standing stones then, because you visit a lot of these sacred sites. Do you think that all they are markers, they've no significant power, or do you think the stone actually absorbs power over time?
I can't speak for every stone in you know, our country or the world about that, but I can say that some stones seem to resonate certain things. I know there's a particular stone at Avebury that seems to attract wasps.
Really?
You know? And there's another stone that seems to have a lot of high strangeness connected with it through folklore,
right,
which is obviously the Rudston Monument, which is not too far away from here.
12 Mile, yeah, we're there. Yeah. And it's not even 12 Mile, to be honest with you. No, not even 12 Mile. But yeah, I would agree. I mean, I'm not just agreeing for the sake of agreeing, but I think we're on the same page with a lot of this. And we've just been to a spot in here now where I deliberately took you to that area because I always thought it felt a little bit off. And you picked up on it, didn't you?
Yeah, it has obviously it has the odd appearance of having augmented things on some of the trees, but it wasn't that. You know, to me, you know, people put things on trees sometimes, and that doesn't really faze me. But what did faze me was when I walked through that arch, and it was like literally a pressure drop. I felt it in my head. I felt it here, and I had like a burning sensation, very mild on the burning sensation, but the pressure drop was quite something.
Yeah.
And then I walked back out the way I'd come, and it instantly went. And I walked back in, and it came back.
So what do you think that is then? Because it's clear that people have invested a lot of time, and let's not just concentrate on Danes Dyke. People have invested time, call it ritualistic practice, call it worship, whatever people want to use it for, seems to leave its mark on land, doesn't it? Do you think it's due to that, or do you just think there's something there with that particular bit of ancient earth, should we say?
Well, it depends on, I suppose, what their approach was, what their intent was, and also what is in the land. So, okay, the tree's been artificially moved into a certain structure to resemble a kind of doorway. You know, you're going through it. You know, trees are sucking up a phenomenal amount of energy out of the ground and from the air. So was it the sort of electrical field of the tree that
you were feeling?
Or was that something else within the earth energy? To be honest, I'd say it was the latter, but I don't know for certain.
No,
I can't give you a definitive answer.
Did you notice as well, you may have done, that there were a big old fallen tree sort of pressing it onto it as it were bent down as well? Yeah. There were a lot of pressure from that as well, weren't they? Yeah. But, I mean, this is a great place where you're going to be camping. I think, you know, I mean, I know it's an overnighter, but to think that...
Well, to start things off, I mean, you know, obviously arrived and we've gone on the walk, and the first place you bring me, you're telling me about the sightings of the dogman, you know.
Yeah, just put some happy thoughts in your mind.
So that sort of thing is, for me, it's quite funny. But yeah, I'll be sitting here later on tonight watching that, you know, and if
You got plenty of charge on your phone?
if anything happens, I will be going live on Evidence Pending, but Paul will probably be going live as well because I'll be phoning him
Yeah, just
instantaneously.
if anything happens, I've told you, I'll come straight up. There'll be people sat here saying, no, you should be there, but listen, last night, people, I was chasing around after a relative who, I'm not going into details, but and we might have some more of it tonight. But if anything should happen, you can guarantee that I won't be ignoring my phone. I'll be coming up along that bit of road. So there we go.
It's not every night that things happen, and don't stay up, particularly if you are watching this video, thinking, well, I better stay up waiting for a live stream, because the chances are that nothing will happen, which can be often the case.
Well, and you make a great point. And I've said, the guy who lived in Danes Dyke for 13 years, camped here for 13 years. He lived through it, didn't he?
He did.
Do you know what I mean? He came out the other side of it. 56 days a year for 13 of them, and no ill effects. And believe me, he knew there was something here, I'll tell you that. There we go.
So, a little bit on the history of Danes Dyke then. Obviously there's a lot of people who will know what Danes Dyke is, but some of your newer viewers...
Well, a little bit of history on Danes Dyke, Michael, is that obviously we've got a Neolithic earthwork. So a little bit of history, a little bit of a background on Danes Dyke. Originally, because it's called Danes Dyke, the early archaeologists and people who looked at this earthwork thought the Vikings had done it, the Norsemen, and hence the name Danes Dyke. But then in the, I think it was late 1800s, and I know that you know a little bit about Pitt Rivers.
Yes, Pitt Rivers, yeah.
Pitt Rivers excavated sections of the dyke and found flint tools and bone tools, antlers, and obviously then concluded that it went back a lot further than the Vikings. So it's 2.5 miles, which goes from the north side all the way and cuts all the way across, and it essentially cuts a 5-mile area of Flamborough Head off from the mainland. Flamborough Head's a peninsula, and people can look at that, can't they, on Google Earth, and they'll see it, but it cuts it off. And a lot of people have suggested, well, what it keeping something in, or what it keeping something out? But you've looked at it, it's hardly a fortress.
Well, the thing is, what we're not seeing is, did they have any form of defensive structure?
Yeah, and like 3,500 years ago, there could have been. You make a great point.
Did they patrol it? Because obviously somebody trying to walk up one of them hills, and you've got bows, arrows, and
absolutely.
Whatever.
And
got good defence.
A lot of the old books will say that it's about 20 foot high. Well, to me, it shows what the authors of these books actually know. Not the old books, some of the recent ones as well. Because if you go to north side of Danes Dyke, it's 40 foot high. Do you know what I mean? But they never go into that section of it. This is the sort of, not where we're sat now, but if we went another 200 or 300 yards, we're into the touristy paths and things. And that's the bit that people see as a rule, but there's another side. On the other side of the road, we've got another part of Danes Dyke. So it's interesting. It does make you wonder when you look at what an incredible feat it would have been, 3,000-4,000 years ago to have done this. Can you imagine doing it today? You won't get men doing it with tools, would you? Let alone bone and antler tools. Yeah, no,
I mean, I've been to some places like Grimes Graves where they dug tunnels underneath and it looks like sort of the surface of the moon, the landscape. Right. These undertakings, we do our ancestors in this country particularly a great injustice on how much, how capable they were, how organised they were. I mean, recently they discovered that, the centre stone in Stonehenge had come all the way from Scotland, and, it's a monumental feat. You walk with a few bricks for a few miles, let alone
absolutely,
let alone 1,000 miles. It's a big undertaking, and they built these things for a reason. Now, you mentioned that Flamborough Head is cut off. Like you're saying, keeping something out or keeping something in. But there's that third possibility of ritualistic landscapes is something that you'll often hear buzzed about when you're looking at these things. And a ritualistic landscape for me would be my conclusion on this. I don't know enough about it, so at present that's where I'd be heading. That'd be the route I'd end up following, because obviously you've got the sea. At the far end of Flamborough is
North Landing.
North Landing, and what else?
Well, you've got North Landing, you've got Thornick Bay. Is that what you're wanting, the names? Yeah, you've North Landing, Thornick Bay, South Landing. Oh, notice we've got a pattern here going Landing. But yes, so we've got this rocky peninsula where there's been fishing communities over decades and decades. And I dare say before we recognised them as having cobbles and fishing communities, the ancient peoples will have worked those areas of the sea just the same. Well, you know, we talk about this one, North Landing, but you touched on Rudston Monolith. And I think I said 12 miles. I think we're probably looking at 6 miles. I don't know why I said 12. I'm thinking of Staxton Wold. But obviously tallest standing stone in Great Britain.
Yeah.
Once again, researched and looked into by Pitt Rivers. But I think it was William Stukeland, not Strickland. It's the Stricklands that live in the area. Who they're the first people that brought turkeys from the New World, and their crest is a turkey. But Stukeland, I think it's William Stukeland, excavated the monolith. Don't ask me the exact dates, but once again we're looking at late 1800s. Found a huge quantity of human skulls below, at the foot of the monolith, below ground, obviously. So that tells us that that's been possibly used for some kind of sacrificial purposes. You might disagree, I don't know, but they found a huge quantity of human skulls. There's as much stone below ground as there is above ground. It's estimated to weigh about 44 to 45 tons. And the closest stone composite to the monolith, I think, is in Cornelian Bay. And that's not to say that's where it's come from, but think of that, Michael. I mean, what kind of task is that? Because we're looking Cornelian Bay, 25 mile.
Well, I'm not exactly sure where Cornelian Bay is, but
it's Scarborough. It's in Scarborough.
Okay,
it's in Scarborough. So
they come from Scarborough. The Rudston monolith's obviously now capped with lead to try and
suppress
stop the energy
yeah
from coming out of it. Obviously, it must have been much taller once, because there's going to be a lot of subsidence over the time it stood there. The other ones that a lot of people seem to overlook is the Devil's Arrows, which again,
same stone,
and absolutely massive. And they came from a distance, and they would have had to travel over sort of like very hard terrain, because you're looking at, you know, big hills and stuff to get there
to actually get there.
Yeah, and how they did that is,
you know, there's a few theories on the monolith, and one of them I wouldn't settle on, but it's quite, I don't know, fanciful. So there's a saga in Copenhagen of a Viking called Rudd that came to the UK, landed on our shores, and they're saying he died on the Wolds, and this is his burial stone. And I might be pronouncing this wrong, guys. I think it's called a Buta stone, which is the stone, but somebody's going to correct me. Probably pronounced that wrong. I don't think that's true, but allegedly there's.
Is it the place where he was buried?
Yeah, and they have a burial stone of significance. Or they say that probably the most probable is it's come on a glacier during Ice Age, a glacial ice flow.
And what, they just happened to shape it to the same shape as the ones over there.
You make a good point. But you make a good point. It's all up for debate. I mean, I love it when they say that. I think it's called. Is it called Saint Mary's Church? I'm not certain. But the monolith stands in grounds of that church. It doesn't, does it? The church stands in the grounds of the monolith.
The monolith was there long before.
Yeah. And it's a testament to time, really, that it's actually still there, and it's stood the test of time, isn't it?
Yeah. And so all around, from, you know, in some of the records and the folklore, you have all these things going on, high strangeness, you know, and again, it just shows that people of the past recognise that connection.
Yeah, absolutely.
Some of us modern people who still live that sort of getting out a lot more into nature see the connection. And I suppose the people that don't really see it are the people that sit indoors because they're disconnected.
It's almost like the washed, the bleached from reality, really, aren't they? They're that absorbed with materialistic things, and I don't know, having their eyebrows done and having the nails done and watching fodder on TV that just basically detracts from what is the real, which was where we're sat now.
Yeah, of course. I mean, there's nothing better than being outside, in the right conditions. Not everyone's cup of tea to sit up with a tarp, spot of rain.
It's good though, isn't it?
But we're out here, the sun's shining, and
Well, listen to them birds. It's just fabulous.
And your mind's relaxed. You're not in a rush. You're not in a rush. And the problem is, everyone is in a rush nowadays. We're trained for our schooling to, be competitive. And there's nothing wrong with competitiveness, but we're overly competitive now because we're trying to survive to earn money. Where our ancestors, they were out here and they survived very well because they didn't have to pay for their food.
No, they survived. They just lived off the land, didn't they? They call it the human race, and that, like you said, we're just racing all the time, aren't we? And we've got to be fastest at everything. We've got to, if we find a food source, we've got to exploit it till it's gone. If we find something that's exploiting a food source that we want, we've got to exterminate it. It's,
Well, I've always found it funny. Funny in the sense of I dislike it, that man puts a price on nature. It's everything that's on our planet is there. It's free. It's growing. It's free. There's no price tag on any of the plants or trees around or the animals. But then somebody came along one day and just decided to pen animals up and do this and do that, and then they started a barter system up, and then people got greedy, and that's the invent of money.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, that to us, it may seem a million miles away from things like what we're talking about, but in fact, it's so linked.
No, you're right.
That a lot of people can't see it, because if you look at how society is disengaged from nature, it's only because of money. It's give weak men power over powerful men. It's gave these people who have caused grief, wars and all sorts of things, the power to say where you can live, what you can do, how you can eat, what you can eat.
Absolutely.
And now
dictatorships.
now with digital currency coming into place, it's like we're getting rid of physical money, and we're going sort of in a way full circle, but we're not going full circle back into we can all get our own food. We're going into the thing of they can just control your food, control exactly what you eat, what you spend your money on. And I would say that's a very dark agenda, and I'm not going to go deeply into it. It's a very dark agenda as far as I'm concerned.
I would agree, mate, honestly. And it's not a world that we're in it, aren't we? I mean, you can't say it's not a world we want to be in, but it's a far cry from idealistic place that you'd want to be if it were possible. In an ideal world, you wouldn't want to be living in the way that the world's run today, would you?
No, and I wonder, with the release of the recent disclosures of, the documentation that's been released and the videos of UFOs by the United States and others, where all this is heading. Because to me, it's all part of one thing, and people are very good at compartmentalising stuff. So they're putting everything into a box and separating it. And that's why we're not getting the full picture.
Absolutely.
We need to have that all round.
We want all those pieces to jigsaw, but obviously, like you've just said, compartmentalising and just sort of working on one faction of it, one genre of it, if that simplifies it to say it like that. Yeah. But you don't get the full picture. It's like you were saying earlier about all the different types of phenomena. And once again, we're kind of in agreement that everything's potentially linked.
Because we're categorising everything, and we can say a dog's a dog and a cat's a cat and a bird's a bird, but at the end of the day, it's all part of one thing, which is life.
Yeah.
And so these other beings, entities, or whatever we want to call them, they're appearing in many forms, are all part of one thing, and that is our world and our reality.
Yeah.
Now, we'll say there's a veil. We could say there's a veil between our reality and the next, and maybe they step through sometime. We could say they're visiting from elsewhere. They could be coming in some terms, some people think they're coming from the sea, other people think they're coming from inner earth, other people say they come from the heavens. But regardless of that, it's all part of one phenomena.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're part of that phenomena, just as the viewers are part of one phenomena, and I'm part of one phenomena. We're all part of the same thing.
Yeah.
And the problem is we're separating ourselves from it.
Yeah, well, we do it with everything. On a simplistic term, we do it with nations and countries, don't we? You wouldn't think that we were all human beings, would you? Do you know what I mean? We sort of we want to segregate ourselves from other nations, from other colours. It's the way we are.
You know, the thing of separation. You know, religion separates man, right? Religion separates man from man, and it's supposed to make people enlightened and, you know, make them closer to God. But in organised religion tends to do the opposite.
It sets man against man.
Yeah, and this is a great problem. You know, people are fooled because of this. And I do believe that a certain amount of what's going to be released is going to cause a lot of soul searching for those in the religious sphere.
Yeah, I knew exactly where you were going with that. Absolutely, and it's gonna shake a few branches, isn't it? I tell you what, Michael, we've kind of done a big circle there from Rudston Monolith and Danes Dyke, and
because you have to do a big circle, because you can't get to the whole picture without going around it.
So you might be going just to live tonight, then, all being well. You probably ought to go live. Are we live now?
No, we're not live now.
Yeah, so you probably ought to go live and just share a bit of it with people. Do you know what I mean?
I don't know how you go live, to be honest, Paul. And so there's another thing. I'm going to have to ask Paul how I go live.
And Paul's going to say he don't know. I've not gone live on. Is this on YouTube?
Yeah, on YouTube.
No, I haven't done it, mate.
Well, if not, it'd be live on Facebook. I know how to do Facebook.
Right.
Live.
Okay. Right. And I'm going to leave you in a bit and live off. If that's okay, mate.
No, that's absolutely fine.
So, great to see you, Michael.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I hope you've enjoyed our little chat, roundabout as it is, and I'll catch you on the other side.
Other side of the veil, and no doubt he might be updating you tonight because, well, I hope he is, and I hope it's in a good way. It will be, like we've said, 13 years.
Just to add a little disclaimer, I would never, ever, just disappear off. I've got family and friends and people to see. Yeah. So if anything does happen and I disappear, there's definitely something wrong.
Yeah, and I think I could absolutely say exactly the same. Thank you.
Right, have a good night.
Yeah, bye-bye.
After Paul had left, I set up my coffin, as I affectionately call it. It's a bivvy, and it's quite confined space. So here we are at Danes Dyke, somewhere at a yet to be disclosed location in Danes Dyke, and awaiting nightfall. So this is the view inside of the tent. It's basically a bivvy bag with a hoop on it. It's very cosy, and I didn't bring a roll mat. Now this goes against most people's ideas of fun, but with the sleeping bag and the clothing I've got on, because of the confined space, the air in here eats up quite a bit, so I'll stay toasty warm. It's just starting to get lower visibility, and the light's fast fading. It's raining, as you can probably hear, and yeah, this is my report from Danes Dyke. I've still not heard any howling, or hooting for that matter, not a single owl. Your mind can play tricks on you in the dark. For a few minutes when I first heard this noise, I couldn't work out what it was. At first I thought it might be one of the dogmen, but of course it was only a deer. So it's almost 3 AM. I'm not long till. This is view. And for a little while it went absolutely silent. It went so silent I couldn't even hear the hamlets in the distance. I've opened the tent and I've been keeping a look out. So as you can hear, the wind's picked up and it's raining. So it's the 13th of May now, and it's about 3 AM and it's raining. It's time I get some sleep, I think. I've stayed awake long enough. So, good night. Although nothing happened, I wasn't disappointed, and I began to plan a return visit soon after returning home. But first I packed away my kit. Grand rising, everybody. Hope you all had a fantastic night. I've survived. Yeah, it was an interesting night. Plenty of rain, a few animals, something scurried around the tent a few times, but nothing of note. I'll have to try another part of the forest here next time and see how it goes. So yeah, I'm packing away my kit, as you can see, and about to make a cup of coffee, pack up camp and make sure I leave no trace, which obviously is a very important thing, because the amount of litter that people leave around is ridiculous. Anyway, I'll wish you all a very good day, and hopefully I'll show you some of the sights. As I made my way out of the Danes Dyke area, I popped through to have one more look at the places that Paul had taken me to, and this one stood out. There were a lot of rags tied on trees. These are called clutie trees, and the tradition goes back to pre-Celtic Britain. But there's something not right about them, just like there's something not right about the area. Not all of the area, mind, just this particular spot. I think this is where I'll stay next time I come, but I'll have to see. There's a carved rock at the base of this tree. It has some sort of sunburst, and on the side there's a spiral. You can't make it out on camera, but it's visible with the naked eye. Much of what I'm seeing tied to the trees is synthetic material, and obviously that's not going to rot down. And obviously they've been having a little fire here some time ago. But the strangest thing here was the way in which some of the trees had been bent over. So I was walking through here that the pressure in my head changed and I got a slight headache. And then when I came back through, I had no headache and a slight burning sensation in my arms. Both historically and in the modern time, there have been so many reports of strange things here, and I wonder just exactly what's going on. Danes Dyke requires a further investigation, and I will be back to do another. Until then, stay safe, people, and I'll see you on the other side.